Welcome to Athletic Alert, sponsored by Michael Roseman Podiatrist. Today, we go through the fantasy baseball rankings on ESPN and their projections. The MLB season's right around the corner, and we're going to start talking about it right now with sleepers, busts, breakouts, everything you need to know. So I'm here with Colin, and we're going to start going over the overvalued players who are too high on this list.
Yeah, our bust candidates. Thanks to ESPN for ranking Hanley Ramirez, Alex Bregman, Miguel Sano, and Carlos Beltran way too high. Let's start with the highest one, being Hanley Ramirez, Boston's first baseman. I'm sorry, but projecting 100 RBIs for him on a season? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, yeah, Boston has a great offense, sure, but they're fueled by a bunch of young guys named Benintendi, named Mookie Betts. Not a guy who's aging every single year and just stop getting it done and Hanley
He's too old. He's old. He had one good season last year and has to be ignored.
Yeah, almost a top 50 player? No, I don't think so.
Who's next?
Alex Bregman, Houston third baseman. He's ranked number 60 on their rankings, projected 24 home runs, 84 RBIs. I'll give it to him. He didn't play that much last year, so projections are going to be tough. I get it, but projecting his success last season over a whole 160 games, I just don't see it happening. I think they're going to be a little bit less.
I agree with you there, but I do think that he does have a lot of upside. Although he should be ranked compared maybe a little lower than 60, I think he does have that upside, potentially about over 300. But I can see where he comes from with that.
Evan Longoria is much better, I think.
And where is he ranked?
He's ranked 67th. Seven spots.
Well, he's safer, but Alex has the upside.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so who's next?
All right, 74th, Miguel Sano, Minnesota's third baseman, outfielder, and DH is what he's eligible for this year. And this guy's never even hit over 25 home runs. Can we stop projecting him for over 30 home runs? Maybe that would be nice.
Totally agree. He strikes out 200 times a year. He can't manage to hit over 220. And his only upside is in the power numbers, and all he's ever done is hit over 20 home runs at most.
Yeah.
So I think it's got to stop ranking him in the top, whatever it is, 80 or whatever.
I think pitchers have figured him out, and I don't think he's making any of the adjustments at all. Now, just outside the top 100 is the ever-aging Carlos Beltran. Recently signed with Houston, and apparently ESPN thinks he's much better than Dexter Fowler, than Jock Peterson, and Melky Cabrera at his position. What's going on? What is happening with ESPN?
All right, so Carlos Beltran, I don't think there needs to be that much said about him. He's old, he's washed up, and he's not a top 100 fantasy player, and that can be said with confidence.
Yeah, you want to prove me wrong, Carlos, prove me wrong, but trust me, you'll be jogging around second base and his knee's going to pop off.
All right, so let's stop with the depression, and let's go to the guys that are undervalued who should be drafted higher than where they're put on this list. Starting with, I'll read them all off first. AJ Pollock, Gary Sanchez, Andrew Benintendi, Jonathan Lucroy, Odubel Herrera, Dansby Swanson, and Ryan Healy. So start with the highest guy like you did. AJ Pollock is ranked at 45. I think this guy is ranked lower just because he didn't play last year, but I think it's safe to say he's going to bounce back. He's going to be probably the comeback player of the year here. And they project him just low numbers because they don't think he's going to play a lot of games and get the at-bats, but I think he will get those things, and if he does, he'll be a top 20 fantasy player.
Right. I drafted him when he got injured, so I don't know if maybe I have buyer's remorse, but I believe he's going to bounce back, okay? They only projected 510 at-bats. When he was in his prime in 2015 and had the breakout campaign, he hit over 600. So how did he not get to 510? He's a dedicated player, and he hits behind Paul Goldschmidt. Please take him with confidence.
Next guy, 73rd on their list, is Gary Sanchez. Huge, breakout last year. Only played a little bit over 50 games. But even with that, the fact that he's a catcher and he has this power potential, he should be so much higher on this list because catchers stink. Yeah. And the fact that he has a chance of being the number one catcher, I think he's got to be at least in the top 50. They only project him for 25 homers, 69 RBIs. When Brian McCann was there, who was not even close to as good of a hitter, he had 90 RBIs. So I think Sanchez has potential, 30-plus homers, 90-plus ribbies, and he's going to be, I think, the number one catcher this year.
Right. And you know what? People can point to Gary Sanchez's hot start in the MLB and say, well, he's never going to do that again. You know how long the MLB season is? People have streaks of hot and cold. All right, that doesn't mean Gary Sanchez next season can't go that hot again. If he got that hot and he got those 20 home runs,
a hot streak is not 50 games long.
I
He's
know.
that good.
Exactly. And even if he did that well for 50 games, he gets to 20 home runs. You're going to tell me in 100 games he can't get over 5 more home runs?
Exactly.
No way.
So we'll move on with Andrew Benintendi is number 77 on the ESPN ranking list. This is a guy, not only is in the middle of the hottest offense in baseball in Boston, but he batted .305 when just coming up from Double A or Triple A last year, only playing 30 games or whatever it was. And I mean, this is a guy who has a chance to be a 5-category producer and the fact that he's in the Boston lineup just helps him. So he's got so much potential. I think he has a chance to be a top 40 player this year, top 10 outfielder if he really plays his butt off.
And he's got a sick flow.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Sick flow on top of his head. You know who else has a sick flow? Brian Dozier, another potential, 2020
He's too
guy.
high. He's too high.
No, listen. Benintendi is somebody I see who will model someone who's just on his team, Mookie Betts, who was in the middle of this list last year, and now this year Mookie Betts is a top 3 player. Benintendi has that kind of upside, so to put him even in the 70s, too low. I'm not saying he's going to get there, but the upside is way too high.
I'm with you. Next guy, Jonathan Lucroy, Texas Rangers catcher, is ranked at 82. Again, we talked about catchers before and just how bad they are. When there's a catcher that has that was a top 3 catcher last year and just a chance to just do it again this year, he's got to be higher because the difference between the top 3 catchers and outside the top 7 or it's just so big.
Yeah.
It's the difference between having a guy you can put in your lineup every day and be happy with, and having to pick up a new catcher every week because you don't have one. So Jonathan Lucroy has been a solid catcher, hits over 300, hits 20 home runs, and he's got to be higher on this list.
Yeah, and catchers, we just, I don't understand. I guess because catchers have been so bad over the years, but we're just discriminating against catchers. I get it, because most teams platoon a catcher. There's 2 people you have to choose between. There's only 3 teams this year that have a solid, or maybe 4 if you want to include Perez.
Yeah, he's solid.
But we got 3 catchers who are going to play all the time. We got Lucroy, we got Posey, and we got Sanchez. Pick one of the 3, but they're going to be great in the future. They need to be higher on this list because of how scarce the catcher position is. You want to be over your friends in fantasy or whatever you're playing and own a position. Get one of these catchers early, and trust me, they'll pay off.
Next guy, 91 overall, Odubel Herrera. He had a very hot start last season. First month of fantasy, he was a top 10 player, I believe. And he's just a guy who has a chance to be a 2020 home run stolen base guy. He bats at the beginning of that Philly order. It's not a great lineup, but he's a chance to score a lot of runs. He gets on base a lot as the leadoff hitter. Always leads to good things. He has a little bit of pop, and he's fast. He's going to steal bases. Bats for a good average. I mean, all these things can translate to a 5-category type of player. I mean, it's not going to be to the extent of Mike Trout, but you're going to get good numbers in at least each of those categories.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're getting him at a discount price, right? Because he's on the Philadelphia Phillies, but that doesn't define his talent level. This kid is uber talented, and the Phillies, even though they're in a rebuilding phase, it's actually good, and it helps his rankings because he kind of gets hid and disguised. He's much better than that. He puts up stats across the board, and he finally breaks out. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be fantastic, but where they have him here, how do you let somebody like David Dahl in Colorado get in front of him?
Well, he's pretty good. But
he's pretty good, but I just don't think he's as good. I think Herrera will be better.
Okay. The last 2 guys we got are guys that came up and played a little bit last season, but are really going to be rookies this season. Dansby Swanson and Ryan Healy. We'll start with Swanson. He's 106 on the list. Another chance of a 5-category producer here. I mean, he's already become a franchise player for the Braves. They've already decided that he's going to be playing every single day. And at the shortstop position, that's not so easy to find anymore. Although, there are 5 shortstops in the top 20, which is something we have not seen for a long time in fantasy baseball. But still, if you're not going to get one of those top 5 guys, Dansby Swanson's a guy to grab later that has the potential to reach a level that those guys can play at.
Yeah, if there's one thing we learned from last season, it's that young shortstops can rake throughout the league. Seager, Lindor, Xander Bogaerts, and Carlos Correa, and Swanson could potentially, within a year or two, he's going to join that group, right? So you don't know exactly when that breakout's going to happen, but based on how he played last season, there's a chance it could happen this season. So why not take a chance in the later round and get a guy like Dansby Swanson, who I believe, there is no doubt in my mind, he'll crack and be a top 100 player if he's going to play every day.
Right. Last guy I want to talk about, Ryan Healy is ranked 135 on the list. He is the Athletics third baseman. He's not talked about enough. He's a guy who did not play too many games last season because, he was a young guy, came up. But he hit over 300. I mean, he had good power numbers. He's one of those hitters that can, hit for power, hit for contact, and he's gonna, those are gonna translate to RBIs and runs. He's not gonna steal bases, obviously, but just what he can do across those 4 categories are big. And it's similar to the way that the top 4 third basemen, Josh Donaldson, Chris Bryant, Arenado, and Machado, play, in that they produce in those first 4 categories like crazy, and they don't get that last one. I think he can potentially make his way to, just under those top 4 guys.
Yeah, and especially when you get to those later rounds, I understand that you usually go for the team brand value, and Oakland Athletic is not a very sexy club to look at, and they don't win a lot every year, but they crank out good players. Billy Burns, Chris Davis came there last year and ended up hitting 40 bombs for the club. They used to have Josh Donaldson before he went to the Blue Jays, made him a star. Ryan Healy could be that next star, and to get him so late, he's way too low on this list.
Right. Okay, so those were our breakouts, some busts, some sleepers, just stuff you might want to know before your draft. So thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Comment if you have any other guys we forgot to mention, and we'll see you next time.